A homebody grandpa who saved every penny suddenly said, "Let's go on a road trip." An 89-year-old man who lives on about $663 a month in pension. The kind of guy who saves the water from washing vegetables, flush the toilet. One day just decided, "I'm paying." We're taking the whole family on a trip. 7 days, 5 people, from Zibo to Qingdao to Weihai, and all the way back home. Hotels, barbecue, seafood, coffee, tickets, everything we spent on the road. I wrote it all down. But the number I was really chasing wasn't how much we spent. It was this. When does someone who's saved every penny their entire life finally decide, "Okay, this money, it's time to spend it"? Hey, it's Shirley, mom of 2. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to show you what retirement actually looks like for an ordinary Chinese family. How much do they get each month after they stop working? And more importantly, what do they actually do with all that saved up money? This is my mother-in-law. She's 58, retired for 3 years now. When she first retired, her monthly pension was about $221. Now it's around $250. Not a lot, but her day-to-day expenses are really low too. My father-in-law is 61. He just retired last year. His pension is a lot higher, about $560, more than double what my mother-in-law gets. One of the biggest differences between them, their work history and how long they've been in the workforce. The longer you work, the more you get after retirement. Simple as that. And then there's my husband's grandpa. He's 89. His pension is the highest in the family, around $663. And here's something you might not expect. He retired at 55. Sounds ridiculously early, right? That's because Grandpa used to be a coal miner, underground. For decades, the thing he knew best wasn't cities or tourist spots. It was the inside of a mine shaft, hundreds of meters below ground. That kind of work takes a massive toll on your body. Now, at 89, he's almost completely deaf. I'll stand right next to him and talk, and most of the time he can't make out a single word. But because he started working so young and put in so many years, his pension ended up being the highest in the family. Life for Grandpa's generation of state-owned enterprise workers was totally different from today. Back then, there were worker hospitals and company-run schools for employees' kids. If you worked long enough, housing was provided by your work unit. So for Grandpa, things like a mortgage never really became the biggest burden in his life. And after he retired, he barely spent any of his pension, so it just kept piling up. My husband's grandma has passed away. She also had a pension when she was alive, but when she first retired, she only got about $74. Very little. She was enrolled in the urban, rural resident pension scheme, a completely different system. So just look at those two numbers. Grandpa gets $663. When Grandma first retired, she got $74. By the time she passed, it had gone up to around $200, about 174 euros. Same word, pension, but depending on who you are, the gap can be enormous. My husband's family and my side of the family are complete opposites. My parents have no pension at all. They never earned high salaries. Farming was their main income, but whenever money came in, it went right back out. Saving? Not a thing. My husband's family is the total reverse. To this day, they still use one of those old-school twin-tub washing machines. One side washes, the other side spins dry. And here's the wildest part. They won't let the water from the spin cycle go to waste. They catch it in a big plastic bucket and use it to flush the toilet. Water from washing vegetables? Saved. Water from cleaning things? Saved whenever possible. Honestly, before I married into this family, I had no idea what saving money actually meant. Right now, there are 3 people in the household. My mother-in-law at $250, my father-in-law at $560, and Grandpa at $663. That's about $1,473 or about 1,279 euros a month in total pension. But they barely spend any of it. They don't eat out, they don't travel, clothes get worn for 20 years. No big expenses. Money comes in, and its main destination is keep saving. Over time, I've come to realize that for their generation, frugality might not just be a spending habit. Grandpa and Grandma's generation lived through real scarcity. When decades of lived experience have taught you, don't waste this. You might need that later. Always keep a little something tucked away. You don't suddenly learn to spend freely just because the number in your bank account got bigger. They're not trying hard to save. Most of the time, it's just the most natural way they know how to live. Grandpa worked in the mines for 30, 40 years. In his whole life, he never really went anywhere far or saw much of the world, and recently my husband happened to be out of work. Suddenly, he had the one thing he never had when he was employed: time. So he brought up an idea. Let's take the whole family on a road trip. Which raised the obvious question, who's paying, Grandpa? Honestly, the first time I heard it, I was shocked. The guy who saves vegetable wash water to flush the toilet, voluntarily offering to bankroll a family vacation. But the more I thought about it, the more it started to make sense. Grandpa saved his whole life, but not necessarily because he liked watching the numbers grow. It's just that his era taught him exactly one way to live: save first. As for when to spend it, I don't think anyone ever taught them that part. He's 89 now. Being able to sit in the same car with his kids and grandkids and go see mountains and oceans and cities he's never seen before. Maybe this is the most concrete reason he's ever had for all those years of saving. So here was the arrangement. We handled the driving, the hotels, finding restaurants, all the logistics. Grandpa handled one thing: paying. Everyone else handled eating, drinking, having fun. Pretty reasonable division of labor, right? Our main destination was Qingdao. It's about 800 kilometers from where we live. That's roughly 500 miles. An 8-hour drive, with Grandpa at 89. There was no way we were going to power through in one day. So first stop, Zibo. We had a little roadside incident along the way. While we were charging the car at a rest stop, we saw another electric vehicle nearby, battery completely dead, down to zero. The owner was pacing around, totally panicked. My husband got out and helped him push the car over to the charger. Then another driver saw what was happening and jumped out to help too, the three of them pushing together. Sometimes you run into stuff like this on the road and it really hits you. There are still a lot of kind people out there. 8:30 at night, we finally made it to Zibo. A few years ago, Zibo blew up across the entire Chinese internet because of its barbecue. It was everywhere. I'd open my phone and every screen was sizzling skewers, dripping oil, little flatbreads, dipping sauces. People were traveling from all over the country just to eat here. So, since we happened to be passing through, obviously we had to try it. I figured at 8:30 at night, the crowds would have died down. I was very, very wrong. Still packed, wall-to-wall people. We waited forever to get a table. Then we took a bite. Honestly, totally average. And because the place was handling such insane volume, the overall environment and hygiene weren't great either. 5 people, this one meal, $59. Honestly, I don't think it was worth it. And that's one of the most interesting things about traveling. Some stuff looks so amazing online that you feel like your life is incomplete if you don't try it. But once you're actually sitting there, you realize sometimes what's really viral isn't the food, it's the hype. But the $59 barbecue wasn't even the biggest fail of the day. By the time we got to our first guest house, it was 10:30 at night. Everyone was too exhausted to speak. 3 bedrooms, 1 night, only $22. Sounds insanely cheap, right? Then we walked in and found out why. 3 bedrooms, 0 air conditioners, In the entire place, there was exactly one ancient AC unit sitting in the living room. It was 35 degrees Celsius outside. That's 95 Fahrenheit. Bedrooms with no AC, uninhabitable. $22 is genuinely cheap. But here's what I learned. Some money you really shouldn't save. I would have happily paid double for 3 working air conditioners. So what did the whole family do? Slept in the living room, on the floor. Grandpa, 89 years old, lying on the hard floor right alongside us. By the next morning, every single one of us looked like we'd already finished the entire 7-day trip, and it was only day 1. Thankfully, day 2, things finally started looking up. We went for local beef soup served with something called sanzi, these crispy fried dough twists. You drop them into the soup and they soak up all that beef broth. One bite, genuinely delicious. And one bowl of beef soup? Only $1.77. 5 people stuffed to the brim. $9.57. Yesterday, $59 of viral barbecue left me disappointed. Today, a breakfast under $10 turned out to be my favorite meal in all of Zibo. The place was packed, too. People walking around holding their bowls, hunting for seats. Others just standing by the door waiting. See, sometimes the truly good stuff doesn't need an internet filter. By midday, we'd finally made it to Qingdao. After sleeping on the floor last night, we'd gotten a lot smarter. Grandpa's old, so I only looked at places that checked a few boxes. Close to the ocean, enough rooms, and most importantly, must have air conditioning. We walked in. 3 bedrooms, and every single one had AC.
엄마? 你觉得好不好？嗯？对，咱们就住那个屋。
The master bedroom we took had 2 beds, so the 4 of us didn't have to squeeze together. The bathroom even had a washing machine. Finally, we could wash off all that sweat from yesterday. 2 nights. $128. Compared to that $22 disaster from the night before, no AC, the whole family camping on the living room floor, this $128, I paid it with 0 hesitation and 0 regret. Honestly, this is what normal human living conditions should look like. And the area we were staying in just happened to be right next to the main venue for the Qingdao International Beer Festival. Streets absolutely packed, the whole district buzzing from day to night. In the afternoon, after resting a bit at the guest house, we took the whole family to the beach. My older daughter is obsessed with water. Once she hit the waves, there was no getting her out. My younger one was the exact opposite. She just kept shrinking into my arms, clutching my neck and refusing to let go. One charging forward, the other retreating, and me, stuck in the middle. Honestly, traveling with 2 little kids, it's mostly just controlled chaos. But here's what's interesting. The whole trip, we kept calculating how much for the hotel, how much for the food, was this worth it, was that worth it? But once we actually got to the ocean, nobody was asking about money anymore. Kids splashing in the water, free. Ocean breeze on your face free, the whole family just sitting together on the sand, also free. In the end, the things you remember most clearly are never the most expensive ones. That evening, we went for local seafood porridge and seafood bibimbap. Original price $47, but of course, we weren't about to just pay $47. First thing we did, open Douyin. That's the Chinese version of TikTok. Check for group buying deals. And sure enough, there was one. Final price, $36. Saved the $11, about 10 euros, just like that. Honestly, group buying has basically become muscle memory for young people in China. You walk into a restaurant, and the first thing you do isn't look at the menu. You pull out your phone. Check Meituan. check Dianping, kind of like Yelp check Douyin. Any vouchers? Any set meals? Any spend and save deals? If I can pay $36, why would I pay $47? This isn't being cheap. This is just how it's done. Day 3. We drove through the Jiaozhou Bay undersea tunnel into Qingdao's old city center. The plan was to see Zhanqiao Pier, this iconic century-old pier that's kind of the symbol of Qingdao. But the weather was brutal that day, scorching hot. Tourists everywhere, and a parking spot? Completely impossible to find. After circling around, we made a very grown-up travel decision. Forget it, let's just eat. This meal was Qingdao-style dumplings, squid ink ones, sea urchin ones. Then we grabbed coffee, ordered it all on our phones, and just swung by to pick it up. With the discount vouchers, the whole meal plus coffee came to $51.55. The more I travel in China, the more I realize your phone can decide how much you actually end up paying. Same restaurant, same items, walk in and order at the counter versus finding a deal on an app beforehand, and you might get two completely different prices. I guess that's also the difference between how Grandpa's generation and my generation save money. His method, don't use it. My method, use it, but find a coupon first. That evening, we went to the Qingdao Beer Festival. The venue was massive. With an elderly person and 2 little kids, there was basically no way to cover the whole thing. It was all street food inside, beer stalls every few steps. Prices honestly weren't cheap, so we didn't buy much. Just one giant skewer, over a meter long, for $1.47. Everyone got a little taste. There's a particular kind of spending that happens on trips. I call it, well, we're already here, spending. You know it's probably not that amazing. You know it might be a little overpriced. But everyone's standing here, and if you don't buy one, it feels like something's missing. So in the end, you still say it. We're here already. Just get one. 3 days and 2 nights in Qingdao, parking alone added up to about $15. Honestly, that one hurt. Day 4. Time to leave Qingdao and head to the next stop, Weihai. Quick breakfast in the morning. Nothing special, just 3 bowls of rice noodle soup and some flatbreads. $8.84. About 4 hours of driving in the afternoon, and we finally made it to Weihai. First impression, comfortable. Cooler than Qingdao, fewer people. Prices felt a little lower too. We booked a 3-bedroom guest house, $41.24, looked out the window, and we could see the ocean directly. Honestly, after surviving that first night in the $22 no AC dungeon, now just having a bed, AC, and a working shower, I was already deeply grateful. And we could see the ocean? That's basically luxury. Plus, parking was free. After Qingdao's $15 parking bill, free parking now qualified as a tourist attraction in my mind. There is one more special thing about Weihai. It's incredibly close to South Korea. The straight line distance is only 172 kilometers. Walk down any street in Weihai, and it's packed with Korean restaurants, Korean signage, Korean supermarkets. Honestly, it feels like you could practically step right into South Korea, so we deliberately picked a Korean restaurant. It's a big place, nice atmosphere, supposedly a 100-year-old Korean restaurant. We ordered the most standard Korean dishes, just these. Honestly, while we were ordering, I kept watching Grandpa. Has he ever eaten Korean food in his entire life? Almost certainly not. When the food arrived, my husband picked up a bite with his chopsticks and offered it to Grandpa. He asked, "Is it good?" Grandpa tasted it and said 5 words, "It's good." I've never had this before. My father-in-law and mother-in-law are also the kind of people who've pinched pennies their whole lives. This Korean meal was probably the first time in over half a lifetime that they'd ever tasted these flavors. 5 people, and the whole meal only came to about $30. See, this meal really wasn't expensive, but for Grandpa and his generation, it wasn't just a meal, it was a corner of life that had never been opened before. In the evening, the whole family sat together and watched the sunset. The wind came in off the ocean, cool and fresh. Grandpa sat there with us. Somewhere along the way, here, a thought hit me. When Grandpa was young, the thing he saw most days was the mine. Decades of it, hundreds of meters underground. After he retired, the thing he was best at was still saving money. And now, at 89, he's sitting by the ocean, watching the sun drop, inch by inch, into the sea. For us, maybe this is just another trip. But for someone who spent his whole life never really going anywhere, some money, once you spend it, the thing you get back is really hard to measure with a bank balance. Day 5, we hit up a super popular local seafood restaurant called Chocolate Fisherman. This meal, $57.44. If Grandpa were on his own, I'm pretty sure he would never choose a place like this. He'd probably see the prices and turn right around. But when the whole family's together, it's completely different. The money he'd never spend on himself, spend it on the kids and grandkids, and suddenly, no problem. This is one of the strangest things about a lot of older Chinese people. Buying something for themselves, too expensive, don't need it, wasteful. Buying something for the kids, yes, get it. Get another one. Day 6, we started heading toward home. On the way, we hit Dongying. The original plan was to see where the Yellow River empties into the ocean, but the weather was just too brutally hot. In the end, the whole family made a unanimous decision. Let's skip it. Not even getting out of the car. The guest house that night, though, that was a surprise. 3 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, about 160 square meters. That's roughly 1,700 square feet. One night, $26.51. After all the places we've stayed this trip, I've realized hotels are such a strange thing. $22 can put an 89-year-old man on the floor next to you. $41 can let you lie in bed and watch the ocean. And $26 can get you 1,700 square feet. Spending on travel, a lot of times, it's really not about more expensive is better. It's about whether you put the money where it actually matters. By day 7, everyone was visibly exhausted. Local specialties, must-eat lists, viral restaurants. None of it mattered anymore. Just grabbed whatever food we could find on the road. All we wanted was to get home. 4 in the afternoon. Finally, back home. 7 days. Done. Now let's look at where Grandpa's pension actually went over these 7 days. Accommodation, $217.75. Food and drinks, $223. Transport and parking, about $15. Of course, that's not every single expense. There were small things, renting an electric scooter, buying local fruit, snacks, not included in that tally, but those wouldn't add up to more than about $50. 7 days, 5 people, total roughly $500. That's about $100, about 87 euros per person. $71, about 62 euros per day. Before we left, I thought the biggest answer from this video would be that number, how much we actually spent. But now that we're back, I don't think so anymore. Grandpa gets about $663, about 576 euros, a month in pension. Money he's been saving for years and years. If he wanted to, He could absolutely keep saving. Not spend it this year. Not spend it next year. The number in the bank account would just keep getting bigger. But Grandpa is 89 now. He worked in the mines for decades. When he was young, he never really had the chance to go out and see the world. And after he retired, he was so used to never spending on anything. A man who saves vegetable wash water to flush the toilet. In the end, he chose to take the money he'd spent a lifetime saving and use it so the whole family could travel together. I don't see it as blowing his pension anymore. I think the money just finally found where it was supposed to go. It became that not great barbecue in Zibo. It became a night the whole family spent sleeping on the living room floor. It became a seafood dinner in Qingdao. It became a kid stepping into ocean waves for the first time. It became a way-high sunset. And it became an 89-year-old man finally getting to see the world beyond the mine shaft. I used to always think saving was for later, for retirement, for being old, for the day you'll really need it. But sometimes I wonder, if you're always waiting for later, at what point does later actually start? So this is where Grandpa's pension went this time. From the bank account's perspective, the number definitely got smaller. But I'm guessing that in the future, what we'll actually remember won't be the few thousand yuan that disappeared. It'll be this, and this, and this. Maybe that's what a pension is really supposed to buy, not more stuff. But after you finally have the time, being able to do the things you never got around to, with the people you care about. All right, trip's over. Pension successfully took a small hit. Now, back to saving money at home. See you next time.